Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. My name's Chet, and I have an interesting show planned for you today. We recorded a group Zoom meeting with all of the members of the Dark Art Society Patreon and the Dark Art Society Cooperative on Facebook, which you get as part of your Patreon membership. So that was really fun and interesting and cool, and I didn't know how it was going to turn out, just having a bunch of people in a Zoom meeting. And so it was kind of experimental. I thought it'd be fun to do for the last episode of the year, kind of reflect on things, and it went well. We got into the weeds a bit in the beginning about how to promote the podcast and the Dark Art Society and stuff, but stick with it. The second half is a little more, I don't know, less how do we get this out to more people, and more just interesting dark art talk. So I think it's a good episode. I think it's a really good episode, actually. So that's coming up. And let's see what's been going on with me. Had Christmas, that was fun with the grandkids and all. Got a softbox light for Christmas, which is maybe why my video looks better than normal, or maybe it doesn't make a difference. I don't know. I still have to fine tune everything. I'm still so new to all this video production technology business. You know, I'm Zoom recorded at 25 frames per second, and my comps in Photoshop are 30 frames per second, and then I try and record in the Windows camera app, and it records at 60 frames per second, and I can't change it. So it's, so I'm recording this through OBS. Hopefully this video looks good, because I haven't recorded an intro through OBS yet. What a pain in the ass. Anyway, so yeah, things have been kind of crazy and busy because of the holidays and shipping orders out for me. As soon as the last day of shipping was over, I just stopped working, and I haven't really been working too hard. I've been trying to take some time off, but actually started last couple of years I was doing music production on my winter break, I should call it, because I always take a couple of weeks off around Christmas and the New Year. And this year, just randomly too, it all came from a text thread from Gabe Leonard and Josh Breckenridge. I started getting back into 3D. I think I mentioned this last episode, maybe in the intro, but I'm starting to get into 3D again, digital 3D and digital art and stuff, just as a fun thing to do that's different during the break. I'm opening up ZBrush and starting to learn that again. That's super fun. So that's kind of cool, and I've been just relaxing and not really doing anything I have to do. I do have to do a few commission studies and stuff this week, but those are okay. But I'm trying to just refamiliarize myself with the 3D programs I used to know, and ZBrush, which I used to use and stuff. So who knows where it'll go? Who knows? But it's fun because it's different, so I'm trying new things out. Yeah, I had a whole podcast about this. What am I talking about? I don't even remember. 2 weeks ago? Yeah, I was talking about how I was trying all this new stuff, and I felt so unsettled and uncertain about everything, but I still kind of feel that way too. Just feels weird. Just a weird energy right now. I think it's because of the COVID still happening, and I don't know, it's just a weird time. Seems like, man, a lot of people dying all the time too. Not just from COVID, but just like people getting killed and drug overdoses. It's like so much shit going on. I see it on Facebook. You see it in the feed. It's just like, I'm so sick of having to give condolences to people. It's so depressing. But man, what a crazy time to be alive. But we're here and we're living through it. So we got to make the best of it. I have that belief that I don't know. We're here for a reason. I do believe that in some way, even if it's just to bear witness. And yeah, so just try and enjoy the ride, I guess. Keep your head down, stay safe. Anyway, let's get on with reading the names off. Oh no. Okay. New subscribers, if you want to join, you can join at patreon.com/darkartsociety. I got my own Patreon too that I should clarify, because a lot of times people join one or the other thinking they're joining the other one. So I have one. Mine is patreon.com/Chet Zar, and it's got tutorials and time lapses and everything I'm working on. And the Dark Art Society Patreon is specifically to support the Dark Art Society podcast. And that's at patreon.com/darkartsociety. So here are the new subscribers. We will read your name off on the show, and you get allowed into the Facebook group where the community is happening. You'll see some of the community coming up in this next video, or this video here. Okay. Let's see. Christine Weird. Thank you. Parker Winans Scum Choir. Thank you so much. Wilrus. Thank you, Wilrus. Samantha Levin. Thanks, Samantha. I know Samantha. Jimmy Scott with a big ass pledge. Thank you, Jimmy Scott. That's so nice of you. That's great. Matt Tillett and Daniel Sachs. I know Daniel Sachs as well. He's a great guy. Built tombstones for the Dystopia show, among other things. I could tell you about him. Married to Taya Sachs, who's also a member and also a great artist. Okay, I guess that's it. This is the last show of the year. I don't know what that means. I'm hoping next year we can get more traction with the show, as we talk about in the beginning of this group Zoom meeting. I really want to get the show out to more people, just because I think it's too good not to share. So, hopefully we'll get some more traction in 2022. And I don't know. Thanks everybody for being along for the ride. The Dark Art Society ride this year. It was a wild one, and it's great to be in this community with you, and I appreciate the support, and I know everybody in the community appreciates your support as well. And yeah, that's it. Here we go. Last podcast interview of 2021. The Dark Art Society group meeting, which, by the way, we'll probably do next year because it was a success, like I said. So I think it was pretty cool. I think it'd be a good end of the year podcast episode to do every year. All right, here we go. Hope you enjoy it. So yeah, I guess we'll just start. I don't know how this is going to go or what we're going to talk about, but I just thought it'd be cool to just kind of have a chat, check in with everybody, say hi, reflect on the year of dark art we had, and I don't know, just see where it goes. I just thought it'd be kind of a fun and interesting podcast to do that's different than we've done before. So what do you think? Everyone good? Oh, no one can speak because you're all muted. So if anybody, I mean, if anybody has any thoughts before we start, speak up now or forever hold your peace, and we'll just kind of wing it and work it out.
Hey, Chet, is there a way to get everybody in the frames so I can see everybody, or is it kind of switching back and forth?
I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't know how to do it anyway, but I've never seen that before. Usually you got to kind of like scroll across if you want to see everybody.
Do like a Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hollywood squares.
Yeah.
Isn't if it's a laptop you can see everything. Only on your phone you can't, right?
Mine, it's
you can yourself though. You can click over on the top right.
If you click on gallery view.
Yeah.
If you're on a PC,
Gallery
you
view,
can stretch
yeah,
out
on your
screen
laptop.
sideways.
Yeah, I've been taking
On your laptop,
screenshots
yeah.
to send to you, Chet.
That's cool. I got the gallery view. That's cool.
Cool.
So we got mute, unmute. Okay. Wow, look at everybody who's here. How cool. So, okay. Hello. This is it. Hi, everybody. We're recording. We're starting. I've gathered you all here today to make this important announcement. Just kidding. So, yeah, I just thought it would be fun to get together and hang out and, I don't know, talk about now the Dark Art Society and the podcast and just whatever, just kind of like a hangout chat session. I thought it might be cool for the podcast listeners to hear members of, active members of the community just hanging out and chatting and talking about things. And I don't know. So who wants to go first? Anybody have any thoughts? How do you feel about this year regarding dark art and the Dark Art Society and everything?
Love it.
Who was that?
That was me.
Oh, Brett.
Yeah. Yeah. I love where it's going with the Dark Art Society. The podcast is amazing. All the community on the Facebook is rocking. It's great. I'm honored to be a part of it.
Cool. Well, thank you. Thank you for breaking the ice and being the first person to speak.
I was going to say, it's good to have it like this in a way, because it's, as far as I know you're starting something new with your podcast, but for me, this was like a way that I got to know a lot of you guys that are here right now was when the Dark Art Society had that hangout in 2020 where we started the Zoom group. And man, it was one of my favorite things of 2020, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a bright spot. Yeah. Thank you, Steve Clef, for starting that. And John for helping out and everybody who helped out with that. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah, what a year. Yeah, I don't know. I really feel like I'm trying to take this podcast to the next level in some way. I got this softbox light I'm testing out. It's probably not bright enough. Just trying to add the video element, and I think that'll help the podcast grow, because I'm just looking to get it out to more people, because it's just so I just think it's such a great podcast, and there's not really any other podcasts like this that just specifically kind of cater to dark art. So I just think people just seem to love it. So I just want to get it out to as many people as possible. So I'm trying to get on other podcasts to promote it and get it on YouTube. As you know, I'm trying to get everything onto YouTube and, just see where it goes. It just feels like it feels like it's kind of hit this point where it's like got a really consistent and strong fan base, but it hasn't like kind of blown out from that. And maybe that's a good thing. It doesn't need to, but I just want it to, because I think it's so good. Mm-hmm. I just think it's so, I don't know, if I wish I had something like this to listen to when I was starting out, because when I was starting out, I just felt like totally on my own. So, and the community is so great. So amazing. I just,
Do you feel like there's something keeping people from discovering it? Like, where does it have to be that people aren't?
Yeah, that's a good point. Gabe Leonard, friend of the show, Gabe Leonard. That's Gabe's title now, friend of the show, because he's on so much. He's like the friend of the show.
I'm the Andy Richter of your Conan O'Brien.
Now you're more like David Brenner on the Tonight Show. That just shows how only the old people are. Yeah, all the old people on here know what I'm talking about.
Okay, boomer.
I think the fact that it's not on YouTube is a big thing, kind of holding it back, because a lot of people do watch videos and get their podcasts from YouTube. So I don't know. I think if there was some kind of concerted campaign to get things to get the word out too from the members, maybe, like some kind of, everyone tries to promote it whenever they can, or like once a week, someone, everyone just like posts a link and tries to share it. But I don't know.
It seems like the biggest obstacle you're going to run into is the platforms themselves having the sort of set up to either propagate or not propagate the content. So like, how do you play within that, constraint?
I mean, I've got it propagating out from SoundCloud to like, a ton of different podcasting apps, like all of the ones that I know of. I think it's more like there's so many podcasts out there that it's hard to cut through the noise. I mean, it's grown a lot. It's just, I just want it to get out to more people. That's all.
Hey, Chet.
Hey, Steve Clef.
Hi, everybody. I missed you all a lot. So I don't know if you want, like, you want unsolicited brainstorm ideas. Yeah. Just chatting. Okay, cool. One of the things that you made me think of when you were just talking now is how like when Howard Stern was on Sirius in the early days, and even on like E, like that's when Stern got big, when he was on E, the cable network. But one of the things that you could do is like grab like your favorite 30 seconds from a podcast, especially now that you're doing videos.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? And then just turn it into like little ads, and then make, people can pass that around on Facebook or
That's part of the YouTube plan. It's like getting everything converted to videos, and then have like, because I noticed that the bigger YouTube podcast channels have like a separate little channel for short clips, or at least a separate little, I don't know, I guess, it's kind of, it's like just kind of a separate category within a channel. So there could be a little section of, cool clips from the show that are interesting, just to get people interested. To share around and stuff. So that's one of the things for sure. I agree. That's the kind of stuff we need. So
you've got a big, long mental list. I know.
Yeah. It's just a matter of doing them.
I have a question. Hi, it's
Wendy Gadzuk, podcast guest.
Yes, and which was definitely one of the bright spots of my year, was being on the podcast, because like I just made a post saying that it's my favorite podcast, and but I've noticed, as others have said, that posting links on social media is like a surefire way to get your post seen by very few people,
right?
Which is unfortunate. And it's getting worse. But my question is, like when you interviewed me, it was audio only, but we did it on Skype. So there is video. Now, is your plan to post video from
there? No, there's no video. I only recorded the audio for all the early ones. So basically what I'm doing is just like having, I mean, in an ideal world, it would be the guest and it would be a slideshow of all their artwork throughout the whole thing. But there's no way in hell I'm going to do that. That's so much work. It's like I'm having trouble just getting the things done, period. So it's going to just be like the logo with the theme song, and then maybe the card, the promo card for the just something to make it to where you can post it as a video. And that's like, that's as good as I think I can get.
You could just show some of the art from whoever was speaking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that's like 200 episodes of that. It's just like, unless someone else wants to do it.
Yeah, you got Divide and Conquer.
So much work.
You need some volunteers. You should not do that. You're doing plenty.
Bad plan.
What if
Yeah.
the artists themselves provided the material in a format that you could use on the podcast?
That's a great idea. That's a great idea because but even that is kind of like that's a great idea, but it's like just going to everybody and asking them to do it and then getting it.
So like if they just recorded themselves painting for an hour or two and then sent you the video.
That's true. That's
Or
an
what
idea.
if,
Or whatever they do.
Or
what if
whatever,
we-
yeah.
what if we produce it, chat? Like, what if it's kind of like, hey, in exchange for some nice exposure, put together, like maybe you give us the audio, and then you are now empowered to take the audio and put either like a little slideshow or yourself painting, package it up as a video and send it to Chet. And then if it's in good shape, you'll publish it. And I know that's hard. Not everybody can do that. Maybe we could lean on each other to give tips and stuff, but that seems fair to have you package it,
I think that sounds fair, but maybe I've got like a template every time I do the podcast, so it's just dragging it and dropping it in, so it's actually not that difficult to put something in that's already recorded. So if maybe it could be a thing to where it's like if you want a collage of your images, time out your episode, see how long. I don't know. There's a lot of people that aren't going to want to do it, but if you want, it could be a thing. If you want that, give me this resolution video by this date or something. And then it's like, some of them can have that. And then some of them cannot. Cause there's like, there's Chris Mars isn't going to sit there and, edit all his.
You could do it really simple. Just have
Braum
people
or
take their
something.
cell phone and record while they're painting. That's the simplest way to do it. That way you don't have to do any editing.
That's definitely an option too. So it could be that or a slideshow, maybe. I think those are great ideas.
I was also thinking that, like, for now, the immediate need, if you want to spread the word, have somebody put together like 6 to 15 seconds worth of video. Just that's it.
Oh, right. And then just loop it.
And or you could loop it. But what I'm thinking is creating assets so that you can put them on TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, right.
And Facebook. So that's what you need now, right? Just like little chunks that act like ads. And then it's like, if you want to hear the rest, go, episode 182,
Yeah. But really, I feel like what needs to happen first is the stuff needs to get up on YouTube. That's kind of the first priority. But I mean, maybe not. Maybe we could do the clips. Yes. Yeah. Hey,
Tom Baxa. Hi.
Hey,
everyone.
How's it going?
I would recommend just doing it your way and getting them up. Then you can, if you could solicit the artists.
That's true.
Whoever you talk to, they could come on. Hey, I'd like to do a longer video. What's the format? You maybe have a template for us to use.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Because I know there's a way, like in iMovie, even where you can put like a folder of images, and you could just kind of make your own. So that's a great idea. Yeah, because the videos could be switched. No, they can't. They can't be switched out once they're uploaded to YouTube. That's the thing.
That's the other bar, right? Is if you get that clip and it gets kind of propagated around, you'd have to take it down and start from zero.
Right. Yeah. But I've already got like, I don't know, there's 4 videos up there now. They don't need to go up in any order. I gave up on that idea a long time ago. I was thinking I had to put them in order, but I'm just, there'll be a list. I'll organize it under like a list that way, because it's just not going to happen.
Hey, Chet.
Idea. Oh, I'm sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
Hey, are you
Josh Breckenridge? Everybody.
Hi, guys. Are you planning on recording your episodes with the Zoom recording like you're doing right now, or are you going to use OBS?
So far I'm just doing it through Zoom.
Okay,
I haven't tried it through OBS.
If you integrate OBS in,
I'm using OBS going through Zoom right now.
Exactly.
Oh, really?
So what Gabe does, you could integrate all that together and not have to do any video editing on the back end. It would basically be what you're doing right now, but it would flash back and forth between the images and maybe between you guys talking.
that's what Bobby Chew does. He's got a podcast, and I noticed he did that. But yeah, that's a good idea. But I think it's something maybe for the future, because I'm just looking for
get your stuff up first. Worry about it later. But you could always get a basic template set up like the one that you have now, and then same vibe, drag and drop it.
Gabe zoomed in.
It's like up close, Gabe.
Look at Gabe, different camera.
Great, different camera.
Oh wow, that's fancy.
He's showing off now. Yeah. No, I mean a lot of that stuff is, like Josh said, can be templated. So in fact, I think a while ago I had sent in a template, but Gabe is having way too much fun.
Yeah. It's the Gabe show.
I'm just showing you can transition through these scenes from one camera close up and do
that's what he's doing in OBS right now.
Yeah.
That's really
yeah. I mean, okay. So anyway, those are all great ideas. So I think the first step is just getting the stuff onto the rendered out and onto YouTube. I don't want to get, it's like I also want to keep this podcast interesting for people listening, so I don't want to get too bogged down in details. So people might get bored. I'm keeping that in mind while we're talking. It's like, are people going to be into hearing this?
I have a question.
Yeah,
I have a question for you guys.
Who else was that?
Jane and Wendy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Wendy. You can go ahead.
You go first.
Okay. Well, I kind of was curious if we even think that, it's like when I hear even other artists talk about dark art who don't do dark art, and I kind of think about the community as a whole, as the dark art society and the dark art community, we're fully accepting of what dark art is. We understand what it means to us. We kind of collect data from different people and what other people do in the dark art world. But if we want to get the word out more about dark art, I kind of feel like we almost need to break through to more people who either don't know what dark art is or don't have an idea, who don't understand it. Even people in the art world, like I'm saying, like there's artists out there that don't do dark art, and then they talk to a dark artist and they're like, I kind of don't really understand what you're doing, or it's a little weird, or whatever they say, So I almost feel like even, all just getting the word out amongst ourselves is one thing, but before that even happens, we need more people to even understand really what it is, or like to accept it, And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it means more of a concerted effort on our part to help other people understand that, because I always kind of feel like we're constantly telling other dark artists, like, dark art's great, it's wonderful, and we're preaching to the choir, So I feel like we just, if we want the Dark Art Society podcast to reach a larger fan base, then it needs to reach some of those other people.
Yeah.
Should we become evangelists? Is that what you're saying?
Dark art evangelist. That's what I got on my Instagram.
I mean, hey, if that's what works for you, Ash.
I mean, the that's sort of what this community has served as, I think, for most people, is like a support system, at least in the early on, to where everyone could say, you're cool, your art's cool, we're into it, everyone, don't worry about it. And it's definitely like more accepted than it used to be, at least from, I don't feel a lot of, I don't know if it's because I have a more developed career or something or not, but I don't feel like I don't feel people don't give me a hard time about the artwork, or I don't feel like I'm it just feels way more acceptable than it used to be, which is a good thing.
Can I just one comment?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a connection between dark art and dark personal things that people go through, and dark thoughts that people have that they don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing. I mean, sometimes dark artists, I can speak from experience, say, people say to them, well, I wouldn't put that on my wall. But some people are comfortable putting it on their walls. And why is that? Is that because they can relate to the psychological issues that dark art explores and they're not ashamed to show people that they feel that way? Why are some people more comfortable with it and some not?
Well, I do want to jump in too and say that after one thing I've noticed is in where I live and where I'm showing my art is very it's not used to a dark art group, right? It's not LA, it's not in that scene. And to piggyback on that and to emphasize it, after everybody went through, we had a show in one of the places at one of the galleries, and it was about works of COVID. And I promise you, 80% of that whole show was really dark artists from people, really dark art that came out of people who were previously doing kittens in fields with rainbows and sunshine behind them. So if there's ever a time now to come back out of that, people where they understand that it's okay to do this, like, and it is just a form of expression, and isn't that what art is? So for me, when I say I'm a dark artist now, people aren't like, oh, ew, what do you do? Yeah. Now they're like, oh, okay. So you went through a lot like everybody else. Yeah. Sorry, what's that, Wendy?
Where are you, John?
I'm just north of New York City.
That's right. And I think like it's also important for people listening to understand that this isn't just US people. There's people from all over the world in this group, which is
right.
One of the great things about it.
Yeah, in one respect, I guess it's like doing podcasts that talk about that is a good thing, especially if we start chopping up clips to share around, if they're focused on this idea about, it's okay. Or even like Taya said, if it's like asking, you're asking this question, why is it like that? Why are people okay with showing it? Blah, blah, blah. Just things that kind of get it all in the public conversation is great. I think that's what the podcast itself can do. I also wanted to say one thing. I feel conflicted about this because on one hand, the podcast was started to kind of like take these, give like a place for these artists that feel kind of marginalized to come together and support each other and get the word out and all that, spread the good news about dark art. And on the other hand, I've always felt like I don't want to be like exclusionary in that way, because it's like ultimately we're all artists. It doesn't matter really. It doesn't matter if you're doing dark stuff or if you're doing whatever you're doing. If you're an artist, you're an artist. And it's like, that's kind of a marginalized community in itself. So I always am thinking, it's just like having Gabe on or
yeah. Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Playing off what you're saying is like, I don't really consider myself like a dark artist, but I do some dark art stuff.
Yep.
And maybe just people not wanting to subscribe to some sort of header above what they do, they may be a barrier to people really jumping in and participating in the community that you guys are creating a little bit more. If it, like, I view it as like one of the things that I do, and then there's this group of artists that I can hang out with in that area, and then I do other stuff that might relate to other people, and I can kind of bounce around. So that,
I'm definitely along those lines as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just gonna say, as far as the whole "it's okay" thing, I think it's not necessarily the conversation to be had that it's okay, although that's also good, but that dark art is so many things. It's not just that it's okay that it's dark and psychologically difficult and that kind of thing, or makes us think and all that, but it's a lot of types of art does that,
right?
But dark art is so many things. But Gabe's right, where maybe that is limiting calling it dark art, even though it is so broad, that narrows it down.
Yeah, but
I'm not saying don't call it dark.
We can't go back. We can't go back.
Yeah, I'm not
No, I
saying
know.
it's a name or anything.
So that conversation that
Light and dark.
about how broad it is.
But you might reach out to
for
artists
sure.
that aren't traditionally like doing a lot of dark art, but have a few pieces that they do and a side that they're creating.
Yeah, and there's
just
a lot.
invite them to share with your group and
That's
your community.
Yeah, that's true.
And that way people are going to feel like, oh, they can come in and be a part and contribute to these things and like not have to redefine what they call themselves by joining a group, like joining a religion or something.
I feel like we're not gatekeepers. That's one thing that I think is important to just put out there, because I feel like if anything, this group is very welcoming to whatever you define what you're doing. I have seen people post like in the Facebook group, well, I don't know if this is dark art.
Right. I see that a lot too.
Like a disclaimer where I'm like, well, who knows?
Yeah.
Like,
or
I don't.
Who cares too?
Right.
It's not all the art I like. It's just.
I think it's all of us feeling a little bit nervous about posting a piece that once we put it up there, and that's why we kind of say those kinds of things. But we really just want to post it, and I think that's what I was saying about it being accepted. Being so broad, and that people should be aware of this broadness of it, how much it covers, and that to just roll with that, not to be sorry that it, maybe doesn't cover this or that, but actually just put it out there and be confident that it is that, and let people think about that. Let people sit with that and think about it, or just not even have to think about it because it's there and it was accepted. I don't know. It's because I'm like Gabe, where I just make the art I make and I put it in the different places I put it, and I don't go, oh, I'm not sure.
Right. I think that's how.
I have an idea.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you feel though that in the podcast is suffering from that same obstacle with its name when people are scrolling through what podcast to listen to, that actually might be an immediate turn off to some people?
Right. But that was kind of the whole point of the podcast, is to make that not like a dirty word. It's like everybody, the idea was like, everybody calls it this. So let's just embrace the name. And
call it the lighter side of dark art.
An idea.
Add on to this.
Hear me out. How about
hear me out?
How about a second podcast called the Sort of Dark Art Podcast?
Semi-dark art.
The Not So Dark Art Podcast.
The softer side of dark.
Yeah.
So it sort of seems like maybe we have to kind of give like those little trailer snippets and stuff to show that actually it is that broader thing, so that people aren't only coming up against that name and turning off, but seeing like under the hood.
Yeah, totally.
It's actually, it's not a bad idea to have an offshoot like sister podcast to the Dark Art Society podcast. It's like somebody brought up Conan O'Brien before. So I listened to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. There's all these other podcasts as well, but there's one called Inside Conan, and it's about the Conan O'Brien show, done by some of the producers or writers of the show. So it's not a bad idea to have this other side podcast in conjunction with yours that maybe unpacks certain things or is like more palatable for people who don't understand what dark art is, and that is named something else that might be more applicable.
The gateway podcast to get people into dark art.
Yeah.
or possibly even something shorter, something that is a 10-minute podcast or something where it's like, oh, here's the tip or the trick or whatever piece of advice that this last week's guest did, and it's like a thing for people, because some people won't listen for. We love it. We love listening to each other talk, for 2 hours. But some people I know, they look at it and they go, dude, I'm not going to listen for 3 hours to, or whatever. So that might be a thing. It's like a small bite-sized podcast that goes along with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Another podcast.
Or maybe you could do something.
Is it the podcast you're trying to get more widely spread, or just the Dark Art Society or Dark Arts itself?
I'm trying to get the podcast to spread widely because I think it's such a great podcast. Aside from even the dark art aspect of it, they're just the people. The artist interviews are excellent. They're great. I just think the artists are so interesting, and I think the dark art angle it makes it unique, makes it different than other art podcasts. I think, even though it's not totally focused on.
I have an idea.
And I think that wait. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's the way I see it. It's like the Dark Art Society podcast is kind of the foundation of it, and the mission statement in a way of dark art. Trying to get the word out, whatever we're trying to do, trying to get people to understand, trying to get people to be more open to it, and so that seems the most the easiest thing to promote, the thing that has the most going for it,
I think I have an idea for that, where it's kind of like the idea of the sister podcast, but it's like what TED Talks did, or TED Radio Hour has this podcast where they take like 3 episodes or like snippets from 3 episodes that have a specific theme that crosses over, but they could also go into some other theme too. But they use the themes as a way to invite people to hear snippets of those TED Talks. But if you want to, and I always do, once I hear the snippets, I want to watch the whole TED Talk, so I go listen to that afterwards. That one.
That would be a way of drawing people in. It could be part of a larger sort of, what is dark art?
Right.
Yeah. And you call it something more about like what you're saying, more about the actual interviews with the artists and that lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, but like it's about that, and then they are referred to or go to those others from there that are the Dark Art Society interviews.
Yeah,
like the Tiny Desk concert, right? But it'll be like the Tiny Dark podcast.
Yes.
You got like the
Love
highlight
Tiny Desk.
snippets. It's a really good idea.
I noticed that most of the things you mentioned are online approaches. What is your in-person plan once society gets back to normal, like informing about Dark Art Society at shows or at conventions? I think that could also be a strong.
Yeah, that could. Yeah. I mean, I really was hyped on that idea before COVID, and it just it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a couple years before, even if it ever gets back to normal, it's like, I'm not doing Monster Palooza again this year, it's like, and I know a lot of people aren't doing it. It's going to take, that just seems, I think it's a great idea. It just seems maybe down the line. I don't know.
Print material for the Dark Art Coup 2022. Maybe so it could be distributed and explained at the show.
What's that? What was the first part?
Maybe print material that you shared at the Dark Art Coup at Dan's Skull and Snake.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Start. I mean,
Alan was talking about that. He was talking about that magazine idea in the group.
Oh, cool.
And he was saying, maybe we could do something for the Dan show. And I was like, well, maybe we should start small and make a catalog for the show instead, and have it be kind of like the magazine. So it's not such a huge burden to me. To me, it's like I know everyone's hyped on the magazine idea, but that to me just sounds like very difficult to do. A lot of work with no really financial return probably, but because magazine exactly. That's why I know it's a bad idea. No, I mean,
how many videos do you have on YouTube of the podcast already? I mean, how many do you have uploaded?
Just like 4 of them. Just like, or 5 or something. It's like 3.
Are you doing them like once a week or something?
I haven't started yet. That's what
I would start there and just start seeing if it builds on itself. It might take time.
It's got 36 whole subscribers.
Well, your goal of like your goal of like spreading the word and building an audience, it's just going to take some time. You might be on the right path, and all this trying to figure out what to do is just kind of you spinning your wheels in the short term.
Yeah. I mean, these are
just start putting it out there. It'll fly or it won't.
Yeah.
And then you can you can figure out, you can start a magazine later.
It'll be like your art career. It'll be organic and build over time.
Yeah. I just, I want to get them up there on YouTube. If nothing else, just so there's access to them for people who are on YouTube.
So if you start doing the video podcast, and you say you get up to 100 video podcasts in there, where do you want to be with your channel? Where do you expect it to be? Do you expect to have a certain amount of followers by that many episodes?
I have no idea. I mean, as many as possible would be great.
I think you need to get a publicist. That's what I think.
Yeah, but do you know anybody who works with a publicist? Who said that?
Successful people.
Is that Ash?
Yeah.
Ash, yeah.
All successful artists have people that like manage this sort of thing. They don't do their own.
Really?
I don't know any that do that.
Do.
I mean, I know a lot of artists, and I don't know any that have publicists.
Yeah.
But
Jeff, I remember that a couple of years ago, I introduced you to Maria Ferrero, who she works with a lot of bands and a number of darker artists.
Right.
She said, "I think Chet's a genius, and I'd do anything to work with him."
No, I don't remember that.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a couple years ago.
I think also, sorry.
Well,
I don't think you should be uploading your own videos. I think you should get someone else to do it.
That sounds good to
me. A lot of time. Yeah.
Well, something that could happen there is it feels like the dynamic now for the Dark Art Society is a lot of Chet doing a lot of work and us thanking Chet for doing that work. Like maybe we can, one thing is I just looked, there's, more than 36 people in the Dark Art Society.
Oh,
there's
shit.
only 36 subscribers.
Sorry. I forgot that. Sorry, there's people waiting. Damn, I didn't see that. Sorry. Lilia. Sorry, Lilia. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that.
I'm with Gabe on this one. I have to say I agree with Gabe. I think Chet, what you're doing this is Brett speaking.
Oh.
I just wanted to say I think what you're doing is awesome. And maybe getting like a street team together, but side work and all that might even be a distraction, as to what you're really doing.
I think I don't know if that was following up from what I was saying, Brett, about more people helping out, but I think
I think definitely
outside of Chet doesn't have to manage everybody. I think we can like earn our keep a little bit more as Dark Art Society members. Like we can all subscribe to the YouTube channel. We can all share links to the podcast whenever they come out. We can all like each other's stuff and comment on them when they come out. There's just like little and that would take each of us like 5 or 10 minutes, but there's like 300 people in the group, and that would go a long way. Like let's start with that at least, because it's free and not a big request.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea.
That's definitely what I'm saying.
That we have a lot of is artwork, and sharing artwork publicly, like shareable galleries on Facebook, those kind of things, to bring more people towards the page, that sort of thing. I don't know if that's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, this is something that I was talking to Steve about recently, is getting the Dark Art Society website maybe more of a public kind of website with a member section, a small, instead now it's very, it doesn't seem very inviting, it seems kind of confusing a little bit, because you got to, log in with your Patreon membership and all that stuff. And it's like, it kind of didn't work the way, as like a perk for patrons, which we could still have, but maybe as like a separate section, and then have the bulk of it, like showing artwork and promote, have it be like a public, easy to navigate website. Could be a good thing too. Yeah. I mean, there's there's so many things. There's so many things. It's hard to. It's hard to.
I was going to say, I think it's really good though that all these ideas are getting bounced around, because that's how we're going to come across something. One thing I wanted to ask you, if you've ever thought about approaching an existing podcast network like Bloody Disgusting or Dread.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. No, I haven't thought of that. I didn't know there was one.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's Consequence of Sound. There's several, and they tend to get together a certain number of podcasts that are, that live under the same wheelhouse, basically. But the plus of that is they have these big audiences that are there.
Right. That's the thing about the podcast. Why I want to get it out, because I think if people listen to it, they would, even if they're not into dark art necessarily, but they're just into art, they'd be interested, because it's
why the idea of having the themes, where they're not like dark, like talking about going for those other entities that can promote your stuff, but not only going to like those dark art themed, kind of things, but more psychology or different kinds of like visionary art or imaginative realism, like as far as art goes, but also the conversations that were had were about a lot of things that are so widespread too.
Right.
About life and death and, all these, and difficulty and perseverance. And, we've had a lot of those kinds of conversations in those interviews, and
yeah,
really get the underlying, whatever, as far as algorithms go or whatever, getting those things geared towards those focuses and not just, the dark things.
Right. Dave Sherman. Dave Sherman. Probably what happened with your friend, now that I'm thinking about it, is that I'm sure if it was 2 years ago, I didn't have any money.
That was it.
I still probably don't have any money to do that, but it's definitely something I would try it out. It just seems like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. That just, I've thought about having a publicist for a while, but I know like one artist I can think of off the top of my head that has a publicist, and it's like, it doesn't seem to do much for him. I'm sure a great publicist would be, you get on big podcasts and stuff and promote. So I'm totally open to trying it. It just seems like
have strategies,
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you don't have a strategy, then you're just sort of like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what works,
But also, if you spring for a publicist, you have to have a clear idea of what your intention is of getting out of it. Like,
well, he has that clear intention though, right?
Well, I mean, is it monetary? Is it getting more subscribers? Like what?
Yeah, you think. Sorry, Chet, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you can get into the details of that, like that, a good way to look at something that would cost money is how will it eventually make more money than it costs.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to measure that. And so that's when you need, like what Wendy, no, I'm agreeing with you, Wendy. I'm saying like, you need like these little goals to know if it's helping, if the publicist is helping, you know what I mean? And then know what you want to pay for it.
Right. Yeah. But is that gauged in money? Like maybe you won't make your monit back, but does that mean that it was a failed effort?
Exactly. Yeah. Not everything is financial gain.
Well, I mean, the way it is now, it has to make money, because I can't do it without, without making money, because it takes a lot of time to do. So it's like, it's money that I would be spent making money doing my art, And at this point anyway,
Yeah. And there's direct money and there's indirect money too. Right. Like, so if it creates more awareness and more people know about it, and then that eventually leads to more sales, that's as good. It's not like you're going to get, it's not like you have an ad that says like, click to buy this print. It's just, but you got to be able to measure it. It's hard, which is even more important when it's indirect. because you don't know it, right? You won't know it for a while.
What's Otis Chamberlain is holding a snake chasing its tail around a dollar sign.
Yeah, Chet, I think you should probably keep doing what you're doing, and instead of trying to create a whole other job for yourself, fold this into your normal production and just keep posting consistently over time. It'll build. I think trying to engineer game it somewhere at this point is just too early. You don't have enough stuff up there yet. It's just takes time.
Yeah. That's I sort of feel that way too. The bottom line is there are over 200 episodes just sitting there, and
just schedule them up there.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just a matter of getting them turned into videos. And then once all those or a lot of them are converted to videos, I can start dropping them. Yeah. Once or twice a week, like 2 times a week, or once a week, twice a week. Cause that's part of the whole YouTube thing, is like dropping consistently.
Yeah, what you could do is go back and just people that you've interviewed through the podcast, interview them again for the video, do the video podcast, and then later in the week drop the previous audio podcast if they want to hear from them previously. Like,
that's a good idea. That's a good
idea.
So
that you're just do one live cast and then you do one older one later in the week.
That's kind of a good idea.
Or earlier in the week, so they get a flavor for it, then they see the new cast.
Yeah.
That way you're doing them simultaneously and you're building up an audience that's watching your videos, rather than just putting out a bunch of audio that people get used to. That may not tear it up on YouTube,
right?
But it might if you coincide with the videos.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a good excuse to. Oh,
so guys, it was nice seeing you all.
Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Merry Christmas.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Later. Yeah. I kind of agree that it's good. Like, it's good to talk about all this stuff, but it's easy to get like bogged down with so many different details, and it feels like the first thing to start is to, the simplest thing to do is to start convert everything to video, start posting it on YouTube, and then maybe start some kind of promotional campaigns that I'll definitely talk to Dave about this publicist as well, but something that we can do right away is just everyone like try and share the podcast once a week, or just something to, because the way I see it, it's like if the podcast does better and the Dark Arts Society does better, it's just like everyone's going to do better. It's like Dark Art's going to be, it's a thing for everybody. That's the way I see it. So yeah, but
I think that's the answer to what Wendy was asking earlier, was what's the gain for it? What's the reason, the intention behind trying to get more eyes on it? And it's that really, it's very broad.
Right.
I think that also is what's going to help everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helps everybody's longevity in it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Someone mentioned, I don't remember who it was, but somebody mentioned to me the Dark Art Society podcast is great because it's documenting this whole scene, which was like I never thought of it like that. It's a really cool way to look at it. It's being documented in this way, and that's pretty cool.
And in the simplest way,
just tell them that DAS.
Fun.
What was that?
Just for the simplest form of it, having a lot of fun doing the Dark Art group. It's like just chilling out with people who like actually like the same type of work that you like. At least loosely. It's a lot of times when you're into dark art, it's like family and friends are like, what the hell is that? And then like you look at some of the work that other people are making, like, yeah, that's freaking cool. You know what? It's good to be inspired.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that it's like the whole thing has so many different functions, really. It's really, I think a lot of people feel inspired by it, and the group, feel inspired to create and supported. And we support each other. And I don't know, I guess that's like a big part of it, it seems like maybe that's what it does more than anything is because it seems like there's a lot of artists that listen to it more than any other group. You know, it's like a lot of artists and they feel inspired by it, hearing other artist stories. I mean, that's why I like hearing artist interviews. You know, it's looking for that inspiration, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It seems possible, right? Like, you know, pre your podcast, there's a couple of podcasts out there, but before that, you're just like painting in a room by yourself, thinking that you're crazy for wanting to be an artist full time. And then one by one, you hear other people who've made it, you know, in their various different ways. And just that repetition makes it seem more attainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's
you know, it just keeps you from giving up. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people. It's so much easier to live your life and not be a painter.
Yeah, no shit.
There's
You know?
repetition to it, but there's also so much variety. Like how all those different stories that, you know, everybody that you've interviewed has.
I know. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I remember, like, yeah, there's so many different stories, so many different ways of making this work, and so many different reasons why people have continued to do what they do. And I can't remember whose interview this was, but it was a guy, and he had just had kids. And normally, you know, you hear people say how, you know, I had kids, so I had to get a normal job and provide for them. But he said that he looked in his closet and saw his paintings, and he's like, what kind of message am I sending to my kids by keeping this thing I do? I'm not doing it.
That was me.
I remember that.
Wait, who?
All right, Steve.
That was you, Steve?
Yeah. I was about to have my first kid, and I had this future vision of him, you know, years later, opening the closet and seeing all these paintings. And he's like, what's this? And I'm like, oh, you know, basically the story would have had to have been, well, I had a dream that I gave up on, you know, and that's the terrible lesson.
And that inspired you to keep doing it. And
I
that's
got
awesome.
my first solo show when he was 3 months old.
Wow.
Oh,
That's so cool.
It is.
Yeah, I love hearing those stories, because, you know, I would never have known that if I didn't listen to your podcast interview with Chet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I don't even have kids, but I found that immensely inspiring.
So what are some, you know, getting off the promotional aspect of the podcast? Again, we've got people listening that are going to be listening. Does anybody have any, like, I don't know, reflections on this last year and the year and their year in dark art?
I want to say that the Dan Kelly stepping up and doing a dark art society show was amazing.
That was amazing.
Super cool. It got people who had never shown in a gallery before into a gallery. What did he say? Like 33 pieces sold altogether?
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Super cool. And I want, that's the kind of stuff that I keep seeing over and over in this community. People, you know, he didn't have to do that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and he didn't. I mean, I was talking to him behind the scenes before it all happened. It's like he wasn't doing it at all for money or anything. He was totally doing it just to do a cool thing, because he has the resources, because he's got this tattoo shop, art gallery. So it's completely altruistic, like 100%. It was insane. And then he did really well, which was crazy.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up when Eric was kind of talking about the building community with other people who do kind of dark, you know, strange art, when you might not be able to find them so readily, you know, in the real world out here, you know. Yeah, I was thinking about Dan's show and how great that was to bring everybody together and kind of show work in that, you know, town on the East Coast, and show work together. You know, I think the photo that Dan put up of my print being sold was like underneath one of Chet's, what was that, with the gas mask, what was that guy?
Black Magic.
Yeah, underneath that painting, which is pretty crazy to me. Yeah, I think in the reflections on the past years, just to me is just seeing more and more people that aren't really directly interested in dark art, maybe starting to understand better where it's coming from or what it means, that it's not dark and evil and satanic. It's more like, I think, especially with COVID and everything coming in, people start to look at it and go, oh, I understand, like the feeling that imagery is conveying is something that I can connect to. Whereas before it was kind of like, whoa, what the hell's wrong? What's going on in your head?
Right.
People know it's going on in their head now too. So.
Yeah. It's like I've said before, it's kind of like the perfect time for this kind of artwork.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately, it keeps getting more and more perfect. What's that?
I just wanted to say tip of the hat to you, Chet, on your amazing show this year.
Thank you. The show that almost killed me. Again, another one.
Talked about that.
I'm already thinking of doing a second one because I had a whole bunch of paintings studies that I wasn't able to paint. I really wanted to paint them.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do another show this year. But Gary's wants me to do it, but I don't want to. But then I was thinking, I'll get to paint those paintings.
Are they painted already, or you're saying they're still to be painted?
They're still to be painted, but they're designed and I've got studies of them because I did a ton of studies and I only, that was a trip because I basically the show was formed by people hitting me up and saying, can you paint that one? I'll buy it if you paint it. And they're luckily all of the ones I wanted to paint that people liked. So it was like they kind of dictated 75% of the show. You know what I mean? Which out of those studies that I chose to do, which is pretty cool.
I loved hearing your story about how you came up with the color palette because that was
yes.
What's that?
Your story about how you came up with your color palette for that show was just, it's another one of those things, those behind the scenes, like moments of frustration that we all
and then
created this really unique thing for this show.
Yeah, well, it was a combination of accidentally ripping off Steve Clef and then getting pissed off and frustrated and just throwing some paint on the panel. Yeah, it was. Yeah, you can't.
Well, that's just, another one of those magical moments of this podcast is like, you see the work in the gallery. And like, for me, like I even commented to Tony about the color palette and how cool I thought it was. Wait, I didn't see it in the gallery, but I saw the pictures. And then like, we get to hear the behind the scenes anguish that caused this thing.
Yeah. That was weird year. Hello?
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, it's Tanya speaking.
Hey, what's up?
Tanya.
What's up? I got no face showing here. Got my skull.
That's okay.
I was gonna say that one of the reflections I've had over the past year was learning to slow down, or at least making the attempt to slow down and kind of make that space to reflect on, like obviously art goals, because that's what I do, but as a person, and how when you make that space and you make that time to slow down and be introspective, how that kind of translates into better art or better concepts or, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where I feel like for the past, I don't know how many years, it's been like go, 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 go all the time.
Yeah.
And I never really had the opportunity to grow by leaps and bounds that I've had.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the last year, because I've had a lot of opportunities in the last year, but I wouldn't have gotten them if I didn't slow down, not just because of the situation we were in, but because I made that concerted effort to say, not everything is go, go, go. Sometimes you got to stop.
Yeah. It's hard though when
it is.
It's hard when it's you're earning your. You got to pay the bills, and there's I agree that it's kind of crucial to be able to slow down and think about what you're doing. But I feel like, for the last maybe not 15 years, 10 years, I haven't had an opportunity to really stop, until, I don't know, the last couple of years I've been able to slow down, but that's mostly because I have to, because I just can't do it. I can't keep that pace up anymore. So
I feel like maybe like if you lose momentum, or that fear that you will lose momentum if you slow down, that's kind of always in the back of my mind. I appreciate what was it Tanya was saying about how it's good to take those moments of reflection, because maybe you're too close up against what you're doing to really have the holistic perspective that we, I think, as individuals kind of need and maybe forget about. But I always kind of feel like if I allow myself to shift down a gear, I'm going to lose a grip on what I do have, maybe.
Right.
Especially these times.
What Tanya was saying,
right?
You're saying, combined is kind of how I approach the work that I did for the show that I had this year, because if I slowed down and just did nothing in the time that I was otherwise doing those paintings, which was starting last year when everything, hit the fan, and it was just a way of thinking, a way of getting all this out that I was not sure, what to do with.
And your show, you had like the most amazing show ever too.
Thank you, Chet. And I seriously,
Insane.
One of my favorite things this year is that showing up to the show of my show, and you and Gabe there, and it was like the best way to come into the show, that you guys were there and had already seen it and were so excited.
Yeah, so good. I couldn't believe it.
That meant so much to me. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for making an amazing show.
Super good.
Yeah, Brett was there. Brett was at the show.
Yeah, Brett too.
I know. We met.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was just.
I got one actually.
My main thing was that I tend to use those things as challenges where, yes, I need to slow down, but I also still need to be making work. So in the ways that I can do both in some way is how I, try to make it work for myself in all ways, and that's what that show was. It was not easy, because there were times where I was like, just got to push through, because what are these things I was making? I didn't even know what they were. So,
yeah.
And I didn't know I had a show at the time. I wasn't intending. So it all worked out in that way that I think, you just have to keep going, like not stop, like slow down is good, but not lose momentum. There's a way to keep momentum, but also like being aware of yourself and being mindful of, what you need to take care of and that kind of thing, but continue to work.
I think a lot of it can be like a mindset too. The idea of slowing yourself down and not feeling so tense, like I've got to produce, or I'm going to lose my fan base if I'm not posting. If you could kind of relax into it, and like Vanessa said a little bit, is remember to have a little bit of time for self-care, and say, how many of you guys never take a day off once a week? I mean, I'm like that. I'm always, I'll do something half a day and then maybe take a little time off, or with my girlfriend. But, having a day off once a week, that's not that insane.
I tried that once. It worked for a couple of weeks. Yeah, it was the best 2 weeks of my life.
Not insane, but the guilt kicks in.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's half the battle, I think, is managing those things that we're kind of trained to feel like you have to be producing. That gives you value. You have to be showing more work, new work.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying too. The work that I was doing, I didn't intend for it to be a show. I didn't know it was going to be a show. I was just making paintings. I didn't know what they were going to be. But I guess in a way that part of it about taking, the self-care part, it was like, just paint. Who cares? Like, don't worry about what they are. Just keep doing it. And that ended up working out in that way. And I'm not saying it in a bragging way. I hope that doesn't sound that way. It's not, oh, it ended up working out. Like, it was supposed to happen, if I don't know if that's coming out right either, but just to keep powering through, keep making work. It's going to be better work that you're going to produce when you let yourself be that part of it, that whole, self-care and then whatever going into it.
I actually got, when I was doing the chaos, that's probably better with my light. Sorry. I got my grabber. I'm trying to adjust my lighting.
Don't forget to let the people in that are waiting.
Oh, Tom Taggart. Thank you for the reminder. That sort of happened with the chaos paint studies. I kind of, hooked into this thing where I was like, oh, this is cool. This is fun. These look really good. This is different for me. And if anybody that's on my Patreon, it's like I was just cranking on these things. I couldn't stop. I made way more than I needed to. I made like 35 of these studies because I was just so in the zone with them. I just was just busting them out, and it's like I got in this really great groove. Yeah, it was, and it was like I was painting for myself. Not, it wasn't like, oh, I got to paint for a show. It's like, oh, I'm into this. This is fun. I want to keep going with this, to the point where I was probably should have started painting for the show earlier, but I just kept going with these studies because they were too fun, But I've always
felt really well for you, that show and everything, and all the pieces were great, and the whole thing, so that's what I was kind of saying is just I have a quote that I have above my easel, and I don't want to say it the wrong way, but hopefully I can say it correctly without going over there. But it's do not mistake your next opportunity for a distraction. And I have it above my easel for that reason, because I might like grab some random painting that doesn't have anything to do with anything that I have to be working on right now. And I have so many things I need to finish.
Right.
That's not going to end up being a distraction. It's going to end up being meaningful for something, whether it becomes a painting that I have later or something I need to get out of my system to work better on this painting I was working on.
Right.
All of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is like a problem that happens when you start making a living painting, is that you don't. I mean, I can't think of the last time I just sat down and painted for fun without some other purpose for it. Either like the tutorial, or I gotta pay the bills this month, so I gotta do some studies, or I got a show coming up, and I always try and paint what is fun to me, to keep it real or whatever, or keep it fun. But just, being able to just paint for the hell of it, once you have to make a living selling that stuff, it's like that's probably one thing that's suffered the most with me is just the art for art's sake aspect of it. And it's like I'm always trying to, play this game of, earning a living and keeping it good and real and fun still for myself. So it's like this,
kind of like purpose, pin the tail on the donkey.
Like what?
Like playing pin the tail on the donkey with purpose.
Right.
I mean, like, when you're actually having fun doing work, whether it's like for a thing that is for your collectors or whatever, or if there are rare occasions where you yourself say, Chet, you don't get a lot of time to just do it because you got a cool idea and it has no purpose outside of that moment. But then, things can overlap depending on your your feeling or your attitude or your mental
circumstances or whatever. There's
but sometimes it's like, oh, what is this for? Does it have to be for anything? But you can always make it for something later or whatever.
Right. Tom Taggart.
Don't take up tattooing.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, Chet, how's it going?
Good.
I literally just found out about this thing. I had no idea. For some reason, I don't get the stuff in my news feed, so I got.
Sorry. Yeah, it was kind of impromptu a little bit, but
that's okay.
Thanks for joining us, Brett. You said don't get into tattooing. What? Elaborate on that, please. Because I
don't get into tattooing.
I almost did.
Because you don't have time to paint.
Right. Yeah. But you're still making art every day, man. You're still doing art every day.
Yeah, but it definitely goes back to that creating art for other people.
Yeah.
Doing it for the money.
Yeah.
My best friend of over 25 years is a tattoo artist, and he said that tattooing has made it where like the way he describes it is like his creative gas tank is always empty from doing like script on random people's hips and stuff, where he never wants to paint anymore. And so he wants to transition out of tattooing so he can have creative energy again. I'm sure that makes sense to you, Brett.
That's how it was in effects. It's like,
for sure,
all day you're expending all this creative energy. And the thing that motivated me was like, I have to get out of this. Like,
the same with music stuff. Like when you work in the pipeline, you just get completely burned out on writing your own stuff.
Yeah. I just had to get, it's like, I knew I had to get out, and I was getting older. I was like, I got to do this now. So that became the fuel to get to make it happen. Was like, this is the only way out for me. I'm not switching careers. I'm not doing another like service type of career. If I'm gonna make a change, it's like I could stay here and be comfortable and keep making good money and just work to 9 to 5. But if I'm gonna make a change, I'm gonna make it count. So I'm gonna do my own stuff. And that was the exciting thing. And then I got here, and then it's like, oh shit, this is almost exactly like working in effects. Not really. But it was like, the analogy I always say, it's like I expected, let me see, how do I do this on camera? I expected this is working a regular job, and then working fine art, being a fine artist, doing whatever you want is like way up here. And it's like, it turns out it's like right about there.
For sure.
It's like, it's better, definitely, but it's not that much better because you have to do all this other shit that you didn't even think about, like business taxes and all this crap, all this crap and commissions you might not want to do because you need to pay the bills, and getting 5 years behind on your Kickstarter book and everything. So it's
to be fair, like tattoo artists don't have to work 5 days a week, but they do because they get addicted to the money. They actually can choose their own hours.
Tattoo artists, you said?
Yeah.
Are you addicted to the money, Brett?
Yeah, that's the question. Do you have to do 5 days a week?
It did help me buy a Chet painting this year and a Vanessa Lemon painting.
Yeah, exactly. But you could arguably a tattooist could work 2 to 3 days a week and make enough money, but almost none of them do.
Quick logistics. There are people in the waiting room, Chet.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
It depends on how many expenses you took on. Has given me. It would have been cool to see Chet do a couple more tattoos.
Yeah, I did enough to know it was too hard. Someone else said something. Who was that? All these people coming in.
Oh, it was me. I was just saying it also just depends on how many expenses you take on. It's like if you decide to get a mortgage, all of a sudden it's like no matter what your job is, it becomes a grind, or if you have kids.
Yeah. It's definitely, I work way harder than I did before, so it's like, it's not, I guess it feels like it's not easier. It's harder. It's harder than a regular job in a different way, even though, you know, my job was not a regular job by any means, but it felt like a regular job after doing it for 15 or 20 years.
Wouldn't you rather starve building your own dream though than feast like building someone else's?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it. That's what I'm doing. So
I think that's the key, what Josh just said, that drives you. You know, if you're putting in these extra hours and it's feeling really tough, at least you're building your own business and your own art body of work and ideas and things like that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with straddling both. You know, I've been a pro illustrator for my whole life mostly, and until more recently I've been doing less, but I still do some of that. So
yeah, I've done commercial stuff too. I've done some shop stuff here and there, and actually it makes it fun again, having stepped away from it. It's like, you know, you want variety, you start wanting variety, or I wanted some variety. So it's like, oh, let me do some makeup effects gig for a couple of weeks. That'd be fun. That sounds like fun, working on a movie, maybe that might be a good movie. But yeah, it's just, you know, there's no easy way out. There's no easy anything. There's always something difficult about anything.
I feel like the things that I spend my time doing, which is, you know, mostly painting and working all the time, is really what I want to be doing the most.
Yeah.
And also it's there's something about just in more recent years me having more of that fire under my ass to like do that every day. I mean, I have all my life. I don't know a time when I wasn't that way, but it is more intense now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like certain things in my life that caused that. If I really sat and thought about that, but I just feel like I want to get as much in as I can, you know, while I'm here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like if people actually got to a point, artists who could dial their workload down to 2 or 3 days a week from a financial level, then the monkey on the back would creep up. Like you'd the grass greener thing, you know, you'd want to get back to that place where you were forced to grind or whatever, because when you're in the thick of it, you kind of, you know, it's that grass greener thing. You don't see all of the parts of it that you actually subliminally maybe enjoy. And
right.
you dial back to 2 days a week and you'd miss, I think, parts of the grind is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like, you know, the more successful you get, the more you want to keep going further and hit it. You know, it's like they say, it's like once you go over you climb this mountain and then you realize there's like another mountain on the other side of it. It just never ends. And so it's more like, you know, reorienting yourself to accept that it's not about achieving a goal as much as like living a certain lifestyle and living a certain way and making your life all about creating the work that you want to do.
Yep.
And that's it. And you know, because I've always treated it, it's to me, it's always been like, I have to make this work financially because that's the only way I could do it. I'm not in a position to where I can, you know, I want to do a lot of stuff. I want to do a lot of work. So I had to make it work, which means, you know, I've probably sacrificed years off my life, probably in the end, you know, it's just working so hard and stuff, but I wouldn't take it back though. You know, it's like, I love what I'm doing. And, you know, it's just
that turns the sacrifice into an investment, you know.
What's that? Oh, right. Yeah. And that's the other thing. It's when I was in effects, I kept, and I've said this before, I know, I felt like every project I worked on was not doing anything for me other than, you know, I hit a certain point with my technical skills is like, I can't really, you know, doing this kind of effects work. It's not like I'm about as good as I'm ever going to get, you know, sculpting. And if there's, I don't know, there's a certain point where it's like your improvements are so minor maybe that no one would know, you wouldn't even notice them. It's more like, okay, I can work more efficiently, I can work faster, make less mistakes or whatever. But I felt like every time I was doing something, I wasn't getting anything out of it, like personally. Whereas now, as much as I'm busting my ass all the time, everything I do I feel like it's contributing to my future in a way. It's another piece of work. If it's a study, it's like it's somehow adding up for me, and it counts in some way. Like I can make prints of the thing. I can, it's another piece of work.
Piece out of the equation of it being for someone else. Like it is for someone else, but in the intention isn't, So that piece being out of the equation is your own, challenging yourself, your own satisfaction with the piece, where it gets finished, that kind of thing, and not just it being a thing that you had to get done for this thing.
Right. It's the puzzle game, the painting. It's a puzzle game.
Yeah.
Can I do it? Can I do it again? Can I, this Rubik's Cube of a painting, can I figure it out again? Is it going to take longer this time? And then you get good at it. And then it's more about like, okay, can I do this in a shorter time frame or limit my color palette? And you start adding like challenges to it.
Yep. I take all the color out, and that's enough challenge, or work with a tool that you don't normally work with, and just like do that I started all these sketchbooks, which I'm doing right now while we're talking, just by doing that to myself. It was one time where I was saying I didn't have time to do it was how everybody does that Inktober thing. And I was like, I don't have time to do it. And I was like, that's stupid. As soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, I can make time for it, because it doesn't have to be this amazing finished piece, but I can sit down and do an ink drawing every day.
Right.
So I didn't do the challenge with all the prompts, but I did my own ink drawing every day. And I really haven't stopped since then. And that was like 3 years ago. I can't stop sometimes. I do like a whole bunch at one time. But it came from that challenging of find another way. If you think you don't have time, there is a place in your schedule that you can do that. And how can you make it work?
Yeah. It's like meditating or exercise or whatever. You can figure it out.
Yep.
Or eating properly.
Yeah.
Sleeping more than 4 hours every week.
Whoa. Slow down. It's fine.
I know that's excessive, isn't it? It's kind of excessive.
Sleep. What's sleep?
What?
The awesome thing about your quote, Vanessa, about it's kind of just like trusting in the process and getting out of your own way.
Yeah.
And these moments of magic happen instead of like thinking that everything has to be exactly the way you planned. Otherwise, it's a failure. Because I think, like, for example, Chet's paintings for the show and a lot of other things, things that I've done, like that did not go as planned, actually turned out better than what I could have planned.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the fun part of art. That's what I love about it, is when you the happy accidents, or you do something that like I feel like I could have never thought of that if I tried to think of it.
Right.
That's the magic.
Yeah, I had like this one piece that I did quite a while ago, and it was it was like my first group show in like a real gallery that I had once I started doing like visual art again after a lot of years. And there was part of the piece, because I do mainly assemblage work, and sometimes you don't know if something's going to work until you actually put it together, regardless of all the sketching or whatever planning you do. And it was the night before the show, and these arms, like it didn't work. It just completely didn't work. So I had to, like, at the last minute come up with the plan B. And I feel like my plan B that I was forced into is one of the best parts of the piece.
Yeah. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
We got Carrie Ann Bada just came in. We got Dina Gore came in. Hello. And Chris Bolton. And it's like the magic mirror on another old person reference. I'm not going to say it.
Hey, Tom, do you think if you took out the whole like audience part of it, would you still be doing what you do? Like if you were on a desert island and no one was seeing your work,
yeah,
still be motivated to do it?
Definitely.
I think about that a lot, and I think like if I were in that situation, I'd probably go like in totally different directions than what I'm doing now, because I would just be me.
100%.
Right.
I wouldn't be worried about anything other than what's going to make me happy today, and I would just be building all kinds of great stuff.
Well, that's like that's how I've tried to like game the system in a way. You know, it's like I try to have a career doing the kind of stuff I would make anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, there's a certain aspect of, okay, I'm doing puzzles this year, sketches on puzzles this year, you know, which is like a commercial thing. It's fun. Yeah. People like it. But, you know, the stuff I'm drawing on the puzzles are stuff that I would be sketching in my sketchbook anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so I hear what you're saying, but I wanted to actually ask you, Tom, for your thoughts of this year, because I know you've been like, you kind of blew up a bit. I know you've been like, you had a pretty good year, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. I've been doing pretty well ever since I went viral. But you know, there's always the dark side to that as well.
Yeah, I know. You got a lot of imitators too, right?
It's insane. Not just imitators. Like with the technology that they have now, they're actually taking photographs off of Facebook and printing them out. They're printing out my sculptures.
Oh my God, that's what that's. You know, that's when you have a good idea, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
but I mean, I could sit here and lose what's left of my hair over it, or I could just keep going.
Yeah.
There's you know, a couple people keep trying to get me, you know, involved in lawsuits and trying to get me to and I just don't have the energy for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather be focused on creating new things. Like, I think more like, okay, if they're going to copy me, I got to get better to the point where they can't copy me and just keep doing that.
Yeah,
it ages you, man. You know, and I'm only 23 and look at me.
It's also kind of flattering, though. It's flattering to have someone want your work so bad they're willing to go to such lengths to steal it.
Yeah, it's
not flattering at all. It's like telling someone who got mugged that you should be flattered that someone wanted to beat the crap out of you.
Take your money.
Yeah.
What Tom was saying, like what Tom was just saying about if you were stuck on a desert island with no audience, would you still do the same kind of stuff? I feel like when you actually get into a positive feedback loop with your audience and your collectors, there's an energy that pushes you to try new stuff as well as doing what you're doing, I think. So,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, Chet, you and I talked about it like last year at some point. And, you know, just pushing that, what we didn't know, you know, what it was that we wanted to do next. And I think that's what these paintings for my show this year were. And then now I just want to, you know, keep exploring that.
Right.
But it was what a lot of people told me. It was bold to do what I did and that kind of thing. And I just found that really interesting that was a common thing said to me at the show. And what you said, you did it. That was like one of the first things you said when I came into the room. And I always wanted to ask you like what you meant, but I think that is what you meant, you know?
Yeah. You did like to me, it was like you did it. You put the show together. You did an amazing show, like a totally 10 of 10 show, but you also, you did that Beksinski thing. That's what comes to mind, where it's like you can't put your finger on it. You know, it's like you did that thing that has like the magical thing that you can't put your finger on. It's different. It's like, it's the thing that we're always trying to do. We're always trying to have that thing to where it's like, oh, bye, Wendy. Are you leaving? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
We're not well, so
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Y'all are a
you.
huge inspiration
Oh,
on my work, even though I'm not very active in this community, but I pay attention and you all are very inspiring.
Oh, thanks. We love having you part of the community.
Take care.
You guys are great. Yes.
Take care. Be well.
Feel better.
See ya. Yeah, what I was saying, Vanessa, was it's like I think every artist is trying to, do the magic thing, to where it's like you make a piece that is, beyond, you're reaching for something, you're trying to always go further, I think, and touch this thing that you can't name or put your finger on. When you see a painting that has it, you just like, oh man, it's the thing, that's the thing. And there's no formula for that. You can't, it's not like you can just do it. It has to kind of come organically, I think, in some weird way. That's what makes it special, is that it's not like this controllable thing. And so, that's what I meant, really.
Yeah, once we started talking about this, I felt like I was reminded of that, because I wasn't thinking about that, but I don't have, like, for me, it was just getting through the day, that was what those paintings were. It was not knowing what I was doing.
Right.
And
but, having that faith to keep doing it.
Battling, really.
Yeah.
And it was, sometimes difficult. And I just think that whole year was for everyone. Like, what are we saying? And then I guess the reason I was bringing it up is because I think, Otis, you were saying that there's something that you're known for, or, accepted in the general public or whatever. And so you start to do what that is too. Like, you start to get work doing that. And so you start to do more of that. And then that's kind of where I felt like, and that was what started our conversation that, year ago or whatever we had, 2 years ago, maybe, where it was like, what else would we do? What is it? What is another thing I want to do with my work? I don't know yet. But I know I don't want it to be, this, whatever this is that people keep saying, or I am, or that, I'm getting commissioned to do, or all that. The more I get commissioned to do it, the more that if I post it and share it, the more people see that that's what I do all the time. The more you get in the cycle of, I don't want to be doing just this thing every time. So that was my breaking out of that, and why,
I think if you the best kind of fan base to cultivate are the people that appreciate that about you, and they want to be surprised as well. Like, they want you there. It's almost like they're rooting for you to find that thing, and to go further. The real fans, or whatever you want to call them, collectors or appreciators or whatever, they're not there for the same old thing,
right?
They want you to do that for them, to blow their minds again with something new,
And you find that out by doing it. There's no other way to find that out, You could find out that, like, you could keep doing the thing that's more commercial, and maybe you'll get more commissions that way, but you never really know that there are those people that are really rooting for you to do this other thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, can I ask you a quick question? Vanessa, you said something really interesting that I never thought about. Use the word acceptance. And, that's not something that artists really have a surplus of. And I wonder if there's a certain kind of back and forth that people have when you find acceptance, and there's like a certain resistance to it right away, where you're like, like, everybody craves acceptance, but when you get it as an artist, it's almost like, oh, but I'm not, like, I don't want to be so narrowly defined. I don't want to be trapped.
Yeah.
I kind of, there's an appeal to being the outcast, because you're like, well, at least I'm doing my own thing. And, do you know what I mean? Like, does that resonate with anybody?
I could say for the show, the Liminal Being show this year, I posted a couple a while back, and then I started like, oh, maybe I should wait to share it because it's coming out and they're different. People are gonna, feel that they're different. I feel like there's so much me, but I also lived with them for 2 years while I was making them. So, but I don't feel like there's such a departure or anything, which some people said. But I almost then, kept them back because when I first put them out there, I was like, oh my gosh, they were so, I don't know, like little children I was putting out or something. I was so nervous about it. And then I realized I shouldn't do that. I should share as I'm working on them because they will be what we should be helping people accept these as also being acceptable. The only way of doing that is to continue to put it out there. If that's something that's important to you, you can paint in your room and never show anyone if you want. That's great. But if if that is a part of what you're doing and it's important, then you do need to have it out there. And I realized when I did, no, it was, as far as acceptance go, it was people going, like a lot less whatever likes or all that kind of stuff, but you just keep doing it. You just keep putting them out there. It's like starting over. It's like starting your Instagram, account over again, like how you started in the very beginning, and then just, gaining that momentum in that with those pieces. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what made me, continue to do it, but it's just something where you just go, this is how it's going to get seen or for it not to be weird to people. That's the whole point of the show. I mean, that was actually the theme of the show, was for people to be more accepting of different. Basically, that was, in a really broad sense, that was the theme of the show. So I had to put it out there because that is the point.
Right.
The more you put out, even like if you have a Patreon or social media stuff where you're posting process things, or then your audience is gonna, the longer they follow you, they're gonna notice the kinks and turns that you make along the way. And you might not, but it's subjective. They're gonna see that more clearly, I think, the more you put out. So
yeah.
That's part of that feedback loop that you play into with your audience. I think that keeps the momentum going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the audience feedback is kind of underrated in a way. It's really amazing to have access to people who love your work and to be able to share it with them while you're painting it, while you're creating it. Not so much that you're like, should I use this color red or that color red?
Totally.
It's more like sharing it and just seeing. I mean, I like to see what people like about it, because it makes me think about my work differently. It's just that feedback, and it's not like I'm trying to get approval all the time. It's more like I saw a lot of people will see something totally in a different way that I thought of, and that just makes it makes my work make more sense to me, just hearing about it from other people.
It's definitely great when you're struggling with something and you're having a hard time and you post it and people just like go nuts over it, and it makes you feel like better about it.
Right. Yeah.
Or that makes you go, oh really? You like that one? Okay.
Yeah, I like this. That's my least favorite one.
It's 9 times out of 10. That's what happens. 9 times out of 10.
I love that you get that feedback though, because it lets you know which ones are actually connecting with people.
I agree. I post, progressions, and I know some of you guys do too. And you'll get that kind of comment like, oh, wow, it changed so much from that last stage that I really liked a lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it's interesting.
Oh, you should have left it at that. Hey, Carrie Ann Bottas said, our internet is really bad, so I will write here. Vanessa, the work was wonderfully different in the context of the pop surreal lowbrow scene, which is very representational. Going abstract is even more daring in context.
Thanks. Yeah, daring. I'm flattered by that. I don't know if that's meant to be flattering, but I really am, because I know what I know. I mean, it was hard. It was not, it wasn't commercial. So it wasn't ever thinking about what will happen with it. And so I guess that's sometimes where you fight. And then there are some paintings, or even behind me up top, that I couldn't get through because they were too difficult about what they were about. And they didn't make it in the show. And they might not even seem that way to other people, who knows? But yeah, so to hear that is this other level of daring to me, that it means a lot. So I really appreciate it.
Parker said, "This piece reminds me of." That was another terrible thing to hear. It reminds me of. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, there's that. I really
very subjective.
Appreciate what people saw in the pieces too, though, which is a different thing. Like, they saw all sorts of things and shared that, and that's where I started to gain that, more of a connection with people again. Was to hear all those things that people saw. It's so cool, even if they're like, people might not know how to word something, or not even be careful about how they word it, and it could be really raunchy sounding sometimes when they were post. And I thought that's so neat that like they just openly shared that,
Right. Yeah. Starting that conversation is what it's all about.
Yeah.
I sold a painting at the LA art show of just which one? Oh, it was this one called The Dream. Was it The Dreamer? Yeah, The Dreamer, where it was like a guy just kind of like I did it for that Beautiful Bizarre show about dreams or something. Out of body lucid dreaming. That's it. Sorry. Yeah. Lucid dreaming. And it was just like a weird guy, the square head guys I do, and like it had a kind of a tube coming out, and it was very like, it had glow in the dark stars in the background. It had a little my 5 in there hidden and glow in the dark paint, the glow in the dark frame. It was super cool. And then just some random guy bought it because he thought it was Frankenstein.
Oh my God.
He thought it was a Frankenstein painting. I'm like, all right, I'll take, that's fine.
At least he enjoyed it, doesn't.
Hey, you got Amanda in the waiting room.
What was that?
So you got Amanda in the waiting room?
Yeah. Just let her in. Thank you.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah, it's not up to you to decide that it's not Frankenstein.
Yeah,
You're not the boss.
And it's like, I told Gary, I was like, well, it's like those flat-headed, square-headed guys I paint all the time are kind of influenced by, Boris Karloff's Frankenstein, because it's like, I think it's the coolest monster ever, and so it's definitely taken.
Wait. Creature from the Black Lagoon is the coolest monster ever.
I'm a zombie guy, man. I'm a zombie guy.
Yeah,
I'm always
zombies.
It's like I can't. I will always prefer dead things to weird things. Just the way I am. I don't know what it
There's
is.
that square-headed zombie in Dawn of the Dead that gets his head
That's
chopped
true.
off by the rotor blade. So there you go. That
was kind of
what you're thinking.
No, the design. It's like Creature from the Black Lagoon's amazing. Of course, it's classic. But I'm definitely like, my preference is more human creatures for some reason. It's like I of course I love all kinds of monsters, but my personal preference are these ones that just, if you look at most of the stuff I paint, it's like they kind of look like people, they're not like
humanoid.
They're not like, it's not like a fish guy. It's like you know what I'm saying? It's like they're like
it's your uncle. It's your uncle, or your granddad, or
right.
that you used to deliver your mail. And it's like,
it's like
there's a weird mortality to it as well. It's like I can kind of I do it all the time with some of my drawings. Is people were like, that looks like my dad. That's like, I was not intending it to look like your dad.
Oh yeah.
I don't want your dad to be dead. Like,
Definitely,
I don't want him
I've
to
done
come
that
back as a zombie, but a lot of people like that. That's like, it looks like someone, either it's an actor or there's something in the eyes or there's something in the bridge in the nose. Even though it's mostly skin and skull, it's like there's still a bit of personality going on in there. So it is weird.
I'll give you that, Tom. I mean, the creature from the Black Lagoon is a better design than Frankenstein, but I like Frankenstein better.
I think
because it resonates with me. Resonates with me more. I just love it.
I think we both kind of go for the more tragic monsters, though, in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the ones you feel sorry for.
Opposed to like a Freddy or a Jason that just run around killing everybody.
Right. Freddy Krueger was a
child
molester. He was. Freddy Krueger was a child molester. Everyone forgets that.
Oh my God. What do you mean?
I was going to say that
that's why they killed him.
He was a child molester in the first movie. That was the whole, that's why the families got together and set his house on fire because he was molesting kids.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is so crazy.
I know. Seen it. And then he became like this hero monster. It was just like, what?
I always forget that's part of his origin story. It's
totally like Charlie Sheen.
Trying to cancel him, Chuck.
Cancel Freddy Krueger.
Oh my God.
Probably why you haven't seen a reboot or a remake of it, I guess.
There was a remake.
Yeah,
but
the guy that played
didn't
playing him
he kind of looked like a melted cat.
Yeah,
it was a strange makeup.
I liked the makeup.
They
I just didn't like
the
movie. I just thought it was bad. I mean, the original was great. I saw the original when it came out in the theater. My dad took me, and there was it was a small, tiny little ad, and because I was a geek, I knew Wes Craven, and so I was like, "Oh, Wes Craven!" Like I knew about this from my monster magazines and stuff. It was a tiny little ad in the paper for this movie, and then we went to go see it. Nobody was in the theater. It was like before it got popular, and we're sitting there with like 2 other people in the theater, and I was just like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!"
Yeah, that's the best when you get that kind of thing where you're in the theater alone.
Yep. Back in the day.
It sounds creepy.
Well, it's
we've
cool.
had this discussion in an art jam hangout this year about shows and group shows and themes. And actually it was Frankenstein, I think someone just said randomly, well, what if you had to do a painting for a Frankenstein show? Would you just not take it because you don't paint Frankenstein? And I was like, but you're thinking about that theme so wrong. Like think about it less like it has to be the likeness of Frankenstein, like a portrait of him, and more like the whole psychology of that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's what you bring to it,
Right.
I'd make a more modern Frankenstein and call him Steiny Frank.
Frankenstein.
Hey, I wanted to ask Vanessa, what was the show you did? Like, is there somewhere I could look at those pieces you were talking about? I think you said they were pretty experimental for you or something like that, right?
Capro.
Oh,
yeah,
it's up at Capro. Oh, okay, cool.
Capro's site. It was the show in November, and they still have a link to it, I think, to see all the paintings.
Yeah. They keep all their shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gary and Erica were telling me that you can actually look back all the way to all their shows.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's what I do whenever I like forget a title of one of my paintings or something, or I need the year. I like do a search, Capro, Chet Zar, and like whatever or if it's a year, that's what it is. I'll search the title of the painting, Capro, Chet Zar, and then it's like always takes me there, and that's how I know the years of my paintings.
I know. That's what I do. I'll look up online before I actually look at my own files.
Oh, there we go. Carrie Ann just posted it. Oh, and so did Steve Clef. It's in the chat, Alan.
Awesome. Thank you. Yep. I'm looking at it now.
Good night, everyone. Have a great night. It's great. Happy holidays.
Hey, you too.
Okay.
Thanks for coming and good talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the different theme shows I really like for a lot of reasons too, not just the themes, but the group, all the other people that come to it, the other types of, who knows the kinds of people you're going to meet and all the other people in the show.
You know what, I'm so against themed group shows, and it's like, but hear me out first though. It's like I'm for. I mean, I think they're cool. I like to go to them. I like to, if I'm interested in a subject, if there was like a Dawn of the Dead themed group show, I'd be there in a second, or whatever, Frankenstein theme. But I've done so many group shows, and it's so. You're right though, because it's like what you bring to it. It's kind of on you if you can't come up with something to make it cool. But I felt like, especially in all the group shows I did like that, I ended up, the painting never sold, and I had a piece that nobody in my collector base wanted because it was so far outside of my wheelhouse. Like a painting of Andy Dick I did for the comedian show. I got a signed Andy Dick, and so
what? You didn't get to choose.
But it's like, I was desperate. I was getting in shows, any shows I could get into, so I took it.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I think that kind of mentality about it is the other way of the other person, where they were coming from when we had that conversation, because it's the same as like people trying to get work doing, whatever, some kind of thing. I don't want to name any certain things. I don't want to put, that out there on the recording, but there's certain things that people want to do, and they like try to paint like that thing in order to get that job, instead of really thinking about if they get asked to do a job. And also artists, they get asked to do a job, commissioned to do a job, and they think they suddenly need to change up what they were doing in order to make it fit this job. And it's like, that's why they asked you to do the job, because you work in the way it looks already. You don't change what it looks like to do the job.
Right. Well, I do have to say, I definitely, it's funny. That was my mom's favorite painting of mine. I think that Andy Dick, I did Andy.
Oh my God.
It was like, I didn't even know who Andy Dick was at the time when they assigned me this. Yeah. And so I looked him up and realized, or maybe I did know, that he was just like a total fuck up, alcoholic, drug addict, just like life out of control and always being wacky. But I didn't know him that well. I didn't know his comedy really. And so I looked him up and I found a picture of him like as this totally fucked up clown from like some skit he was doing. It was like Ronald McDonald, just like disheveled, and his makeup's all smeared. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. I'll do a portrait of him as this screwed up clown, because it's exactly what he is. He's like a, just like a total fuck up, and trying to make a big joke out of it, but he's like tragic really. And so I was able to like turn it into like a real painting that was like made a statement. And I
think Andy Dick just joined the chat.
Oh, Sean but it was in a show that got a bunch of publicity, and there was a podcast, and Sarah Silverman and some other comedian were like walking around talking about the paintings. And Sarah Silverman said, when she got to mine, she's like, oh my God, that's so haunting. Like she totally got it. She didn't laugh and say, Yay. he's a whack, weird, messed up clown. She's like totally got it. Like, oh God, this is dark. It was because it was really dark. It was because it was like, it looked like a homeless clown kind of.
Oh my God.
And it did eventually sell, but it was like 10 years later in France. I think it sold in France. Of all places.
It's so weird because I can't imagine like someone being a fan of you and also of Andy Dick's comedy. Like,
yeah, I know.
It's so disparate.
It was so, but that was kind of what I meant about. I mean, I guess I was able to take that assignment and make it a good piece of art, but ultimately I wound up, as far as from a sales perspective, just sitting on this painting that nobody wanted for like 10 years because it's you really got to find the right person to buy that piece.
But I reckon that's when like group shows are being done wrong. If you're being assigned something so specific like that, rather than, do a comedian that you love and resonate with, that's cool,
Yeah. Yeah, whenever I do themed group shows now, it's more like I try and keep it as open as possible because you want the artist to, you're choosing the artist because you know the kind of work they do, so you want to see their thing, you see them do their thing,
Yeah, use their imagination. Like,
yeah.
How about a group show where everybody does Norman Fell?
That's a great idea. I would totally be into that. Only nobody would. Only people over 50 would know who the fuck Norman Fell is.
Yeah.
Yeah, only me and Tom are the only ones laughing about this joke. And everybody's like, what?
I'm with you, Chet. I'm not yet 50.
I'm laughing on the inside.
Yeah.
I actually would, he started out as a serious actor. It'd be great to find like one of his really dramatic
there we
roles, because
Yeah.
everybody thinks of him as a goofball from Three's Company now.
Yeah. The Ropers.
I think he's in It's a Mad World, isn't he? Isn't he one of the cops in there?
Yeah, I think he is. That way everybody was in that movie.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Carrie Ann was laughing. Someone posted my Andy Dick painting in the chat.
God,
Parker did. I did thick impasto for the curly hair. That's the thing, the technical achievement I made on that painting. It was the first time I ever did a super thick impasto curly hair.
Ooh, cool.
It works well on there. Yeah.
Thank you.
What was the name of that show? I'm really curious what this was standing up against.
It was, I think it was called Comedians, and it was Gallery 1988.
Cold Comedians. Wow.
I think it was called Comedians. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had even that narrow of a theme that I participated in. So that might be where I'm coming from with
Yeah, right.
theme shows.
I know other ones were like, I did one for Hyena, which was it was like cult movies, and they had a list. And I know by the time that I chose mine, most of them were taken. So I ended up doing the guy from David Carradine as Frankenstein in Death Race 2000, because I like that character. But I think that's still sitting in dark art. I thought it was a great painting. It was a good portrait of the character in Death Race 2000, the old one, the good one. And but I think it's still sitting there. I don't think they ever sold it. Again, it's like so obscure, who even knows of Death Race 2000 anymore? It's like I remember it because
Sylvester Stallone's first movie, I believe.
Yeah. It was the first
It
was the first R-rated movie I ever saw. I remember that. I was like shocked at the blood. I was like, I had this sick feeling in my stomach. Like, wow. So I was like 8 or 9 or something.
And exceptionally cool looking vehicles.
Yeah, remember he did the burnout.
Spiky cars.
Did the burnout on the guy's leg. He runs him over in the little river, and then burns out in his leg, and all the blood comes up. It was just like so shocking to me.
I remember being shocked when they dragged out all the old people. To
And you see
that was the thing. I was like, the chairs and
the bodies popping up, and yeah,
that was always a bit.
That's
confronting.
That's actually a great cult movie. It is. It's like social satire.
Oh, there you go. We'll do a Corman theme show.
Yeah,
you can drag that painting out and put that in there.
Well, you know what? It's getting late. We've been talking for at least 2 hours, and remember, this is a podcast, so I think I'm gonna at least stop recording. If you guys want to stay on, I'll leave it up if you want, but I have to go eat and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm gonna head out too, but thank you everybody for being here in the conversation. Thank you so much, Chet, for doing this.
Yeah, it was super fun. It was I thought it went well. I thought we'll definitely. I think we should do it again. I think it's a cool idea. I'll see. I'm curious how the listeners are going to respond. The ones that weren't in the chat here or in the Zoom, but I wonder how it'll work as a podcast. I'm just going to post it, the whole thing, except for me in the beginning trying to figure out how to do closed caption for Michael.
Hey, Chet, before you go, can I just say thanks for doing these podcasts. I know it's hard work, and it really is creating this soundtrack of art and artists working in their studios. There's really nothing like it, and it's just such a cool thing to have in the world, to be able to listen to while you're painting or just like cleaning your studio or getting psyched up. And it's it feels bigger than I feel like it is. It's like a really important, like, unique thing. So thanks.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I've got no, I can't tell, it's like I just know that people, like you just said, once in a while people will message me that same sentiment, like they really love the podcast and appreciate it. And so I just keep doing it for that reason, really. And so,
is this recording still?
Yeah.
I bet you're gonna get a lot of messages now.
What's
yeah,
that?
Oh yeah, you're gonna get deluges of messages. It's like finding the right therapy group. It is like finding the right therapy group, Chet. It's really good. It's like you go through so many therapy groups, and then you find the right one that you can resonate with everyone. And it's appreciative, especially, I think I could speak for Ash and myself, being so far away from everything as well, that it gives you more of a connection to that, the people, the artists, and it's hugely appreciated. It's hugely appreciated because, again, coming from Perth, which is pretty isolated, Melbourne's a little bit more arty. It's there's less of it here. We're very sports driven.
Right?
Yeah, it's gross.
It's all cricket and football here. So if you talk about art, the artwork, people don't really have a time for it, unfortunately. So it's nice to go somewhere and have somewhere where you can exist there for a little bit and kind of. It's like going. It's like going to a convention or something and talking with like-minded people. But you don't.
I wish we had
being an
those.
artist. Yeah, being an artist, you don't always get a chance to leave the house. So it's nice to have the people come to you.
Yeah.
So it is. We thoroughly appreciate it, and I'm just glad everyone's here, and we're here for we're sticking it out, and the movement's still going, and everyone's still doing amazing work as well. The Facebook is just. It's my go-to every day, just to get a little bit of inspiration. Also, to pull my hair out a bit and go, look at that. Look, this person's killing it, man. It's like, it's amazing. It's wicked. Hopefully everyone, and hopefully everyone just keeps doing more and more and more, and keeps pushing themselves and challenging themselves, because that's the thing that makes it so polarizing, is that everyone looks like they're really enjoying themselves to a certain degree, but challenging themselves each time they put out a piece. Having a forum where people can put that stuff out there as well, and have really good positive feedback, rather than just throwing it out on Instagram or something and being kind of disheartened when you don't get 1,000 likes or something.
Right.
It's nice to have people engage with you and comment on it and say they really love the piece. So thank you. I commend you and everyone else part of the community for sticking to their guns and doing what they do best.
Cool. Well, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Chet.
Should we sign off with a song?
Oh, I was gonna say, not just like the geographic thing, but also just having this connection and place to talk to people and things during this lockdown and kind of COVID kind of situation going on, so on top of the normal isolation, just this like amplified isolation, having this connection. And like we mentioned earlier, Dan Kelly's show, I know to me, and I think to a lot of other people, that was just like such a good feeling in the middle of all this stuff in such a bad year, so like they were saying, thanks, Chet, because Dan put that on and stuff, but it wouldn't have happened without you doing all this and staying on the podcast and everything, and putting out your kind of good vibes to the universe and stuff. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Fuck yeah.
And if I can add my 5 cents, my 2 cents too.
Yes.
It's 2021 I know it sounds counter to most people, but at least for art, it's been my best year ever. And I think the podcast and the group and the friends that I've made, the connections that I've made, are the reason for it. I joined DAS about 11 months ago or so, and I pretty much was coming off from over a decade of not doing a single piece of art.
Wow.
For multiple reasons. I just completely stopped. And I joined DAS right at the moment where I was like just starting to get back into it. Saw somebody that posted, I think it was Jamie Wells, I think, that posted on Instagram that she's done the episode. And I was like, wait, there's a whole society of people that are into
Yeah.
It's like, I need to join this. And it's been great. And I feel that just not just the friendships and all that, but the information and all this knowledge that you get that you just simply don't get anywhere else. You're hearing personal stories, you're hearing anecdotes, you're hearing how people are dealing with things that you've probably encountered before and had issues with, or you have yet to encounter, and they're preparing you. So it's invaluable, I think. It's almost as an educational resource in a way that it's hard to describe, because it really is just teaching you how all these artists are dealing with these issues from all across, not just painting, but digital art, painting, and sculptors. And you're getting all this stuff that to me is like, it's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Chet Zar Chet is the Dick Smith of the painting world. There we go. He's extended it out. There's no secrets. There's ultimate sharing of all of the techniques and the ins and outs of the industry. Like there's no compulsions of, I'm going to keep this close to my chest because I don't want everyone else doing what I do. There's sharing, and it's refreshing. I love that people can just go, hey, this is how I did it. Here's my progress shots. Enjoy it. Enjoy what you normally would just exist in your own little universe, in your own little sphere on your own, and not really get a bit of any feedback whatsoever. That's
the format.
It's incredible.
Right?
Yeah, and it's incredible.
Totally. Like, how many times have I sat down and been like, oh yeah, I was talking to Vanessa before, and I'm like, oh no, wait a minute, shit, that was the podcast. Like, I feel like I'm sitting,
that's
sitting there in the room with a coffee, and you guys are just, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like talking to the podcast.
I hear that. Really, probably more than anything is that it feels like they're just listening to a conversation, like they're in the room.
And it is a crucible of information, right? We're all good about critiquing each other gently, kindly, if we ask for it. Otherwise, it's just out there, and we're able to learn so much. I wouldn't be where I am art-wise if it wasn't for this group, and if it wasn't for the podcast.
Awesome. That's great.
That's what Brad does.
And everybody else.
Like, doing this kind of thing now amplifies that, because we can actually be part of the conversation and have call and response to our like-minded peers as well. So it's cool, super cool. I've got a dip as well, but I just wanted to say, like, again, reiterating what everyone else has said, thanks Chet, amazingly. I remember I joined DAS when Mike was still doing it, maybe 20 or 30 eps in, and kind of dipped out. But I always come back and click on an episode, and the doom. It's like, oh yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. Totally.
So,
dude, I was going to ask when you joined.
Don't ever change the theme song. That's never. It's iconic, dude. Never change that song, because it is that thing. It's like you hear, it's like your favorite theme song to your favorite show. You're
cool.
Like, you kind of know what you're going to get. And the best thing is having people that talk, and you go, I feel exactly the same way. I feel like sometimes I'm talking to the podcast going, yes, I understand what you're talking about. And there's so many, like, most other podcasts or other things I listen to, I'm there quietly working away. But the Dark Art podcast, it's one of the only ones that I'll actually vocalize my agreement to something that someone's saying. Or
that's great.
It's a weird experience, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Podcast makes you talk to yourself. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll I'll close. I appreciate it, everybody. That's really nice of you to say. I will close by saying that
You're blushing. Just a little bit, I can tell.
part of the part of why I keep doing it is because I realize that we have something special here, and it sounds like a cliche to say we have something special, but I really feel like for whatever reason, and I don't know why, and I don't really care why, but it just feels like it's something I need to keep doing because it's so special. And it's like, you could ask Lisa every time I do an interview afterwards, I'm like all amped up and so excited. It's like, that was such a great conversation. It was so interesting. It was so interesting I don't know. I just feel like the interviews are, and it's like, I got no experience in interviews. It's like, it's not me. It's like, it's because the people who come on the show are just so interesting. And for some, if I can take credit for anything, it's maybe making them feel at ease. That's about it. So, which is fine. And, it seems like if you set people at ease and you're friendly, you just have a great conversation. And it's like, these people are always so interesting. And I get a lot out of that too. It's like, aside from being able to talk to all my art heroes like Brahm and Chris Mars and people like that, has been really cool. Just knowing that it helps so many people and so many people appreciate it really, means a lot to me. And it makes it, it's part of what's special about it. And so I'll keep doing it. I'll just keep doing it. And, but that's also, that's the main reason I want to get it out to more people, is because I think it's special somehow. There's something special about it. And the community's, I think, an example of that. This whole thing is, you try different things, and some, as artists, we all know this, sometimes they work and you kind of keep following them, and sometimes they don't work and they're failures. Like, I've had so many different I had failed bands. I had failed group shows I curated, many failed things I've done. And then certain things are not failures. And then you just follow them because that they're taking you somewhere good, like you're doing the right thing. And so I feel like this podcast is one of those things. Like it started just as totally on a whim, and it's like, oh shit, this is special somehow. And so I just have to keep doing it. I just feel like, it's like, I just got to keep doing it because it's leading. Yeah. It's leading to something, or
special.
There's something about
it. Are we going to start a DA Dark Art Society band? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Online band with like 350 instruments.
Awesome. I've got a theremin. So I'll come in with the theremin.
The Dark Art Symphony.
And I do have to say, I'm glad to hear that you like the theme song, because I feel like I was finally able to make the 10 years I put into trying to be a professional musician and a rock star, or being a punk band or whatever what I was doing. Finally, it amounted to something tangible, which is that theme song. Yeah. It's like, it's so funny that to me, that was like, so cool, because it was sort of like I finally made it with my music in some way with that song. It had purpose, and it's like, oh, this fits. This is great. So anyway, well, thank you. You folks make up the community, and that's a big part of why it's special. So thank you all for being a part of it. And let's do this again. We'll do this again. I think this
every year.
Yeah, we should do it every year. Yep.
So get everyone involved.
Yeah, it's great.
Find out what everyone's been doing.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. And this was just the first tryout. So some bugs to work out, but I got a better feel for it now. So anyway, everybody has to say Goodbye, audience.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, audience.